look what I just found. I've never seen one of these before. It looks like a sweeper with a bucket to collect the dirt in. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Now he's trying to clean the trash out of the parking lot. This is going to be the new police department. Y'all wonder where I'm at. Used to be a place called Anderson Auto Parts. The bucket's so full of dirt, it ain't filling up the bucket no more, but it does spill out on the road. Doesn't look like his broom's touching down like it should be. Alright. I'm done. No chemtrails in the sky, not even blowing out of Georgia. We got some that there's some chemtrailers over there. Chemtrails, chemtrails, chemtrails. Alright, thank y'all. Interesting little bird. I've been hearing these things for years. I finally get to see one. Alright, thank you. Oh, it's probably the old Atlantic Coastline right away.
Whatever that is, I don't know what.
That's Highway 81. Cannonballs that way. Thank y'all. Chemtrail clouds. He said the chemtrail has been flying around. Still got something going through that. Alright, that's not normal clouds, y'all. That's our government making the weather. Don't blame God for the hurricanes and stuff you've been getting, or the tornadoes. This is man-made weather we get up here. Those jets fly over and they leave chemicals in the sky and it modifies the weather. Alright, thank you. Whole seaboard airline caboose. Thank you. For Pan American Industrial. Our yard, that's in North Carolina. That's a hump yard, y'all. That's a picture of the caboose we got. Try to get that word and look at it and read it later on. Alright, that's on that wall. Tickets, y'all. This is SCL L&N. I went down into Florida. South Carolina. We are here. Birmingham. That's the old depot. So he made something out of that. I don't know what that is about. Tower lights. There's another L&N train. Franklin D. Howard. Horace Whitley Phillips. John Frank Burton. That's neat. Seaboard Airline Conductor outfit.
Hi, sir.
How you doing?
Good.
Hey there.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm alright, how are you?
Absolutely wonderful. I'm
Can
looking for the guy that says he's over the caboose out there.
He's not here today. He'll be here probably Saturday.
Can you give him my number? I give you the number? Because I've been down there 3 Saturdays and I haven't seen anybody.
Well, right now, because we're under construction, we're only open by appointment. Let me see if I can find.
Got some old buildings down here. It's at the Historic Center in Abbeville. And you can see the caboose sticking out over there. They got a baggage cart now. I'm trying to give them 2 signal heads so they can put some signals up for it. 2-track railroad crossing. I don't know where that would have come from, but these are cool. Those little round circles on there would reflect light from your headlights and you can see the crossing real good. You can read it at night. Alright, there's the caboose. A man with rest is at his best, and that ended in all cars, all cabooses that ended in 9. Bitch is 759. I used to keep this down at the depot when I would babysit kids and take them down there all the time. Frank Pursley, railroad part. Frank Pursley worked on the railroad. Him and his 3 brothers. There's an old switch stand. A weird model, JS. That's an International Car Company caboose. They don't have the handbrakes on. You see that chain hanging down. Pretty hard to see. I'm looking into the sun direction. Made by Gould. Barber Bentendorf truck. That's your triple valve there. That's a crank for an adjustment. I'm not sure what takes slack out of the chain so the brakes work better. That's your air tank. You notice there's 2 parts. One side is regular brakes, the other side is emergency brakes. And back here on the truck, that's just my reflection, it's hard to see. Alright, that's the generator. The pulleys for the generator. Make it generate electricity. For the radios and the lights and stuff. A friend of mine painted this thing. It still looks good. They got Christmas lights hanging off of it. And the railroad, well, of course, that's Seaboard Coastline up there, but they got it in Seaboard Airline. They did make it to the Seaboard Coastline era before they quit using cabooses. The Seaboard Airline ran from Virginia down to Abbeville, down to Georgia, and they built that track all the way straight down to Florida too. But this one would go down to New Orleans at the southern end. That's a baggage cart. And that's the whole caboose there. Yeah, I used to take kids down to the depot and we get to walk through it and sit in it, play in it. And some of them, when they got older, would even climb up on the roof and stuff. Probably wasn't supposed to, but they were being safe about it. I didn't cry and complain. Alright, thank y'all. Headed back towards town, which is over that way. But I'm gonna walk on the street behind town. Maybe get some stuff over there, I don't know. Alright, thank you. Welcome to Abbeville. This is the Burt Stark Mansion. The last cabinet meeting of the Confederate government met here and they ended the Civil War. Jefferson Davis was here and stuff. Let me zoom in, maybe you can read that sign. Might tell you something about it. Alright, thank you. I was in the play at the Opera House where we did a reenactment of the meeting they had here to disband the Confederacy. This was after General Lee lost and got defeated. Alright, thank you. Alright, check this old Baptist church out. No steeple on that roof. A steeple is an obelisk, and all obelisks represent the penis of the fake god Osiris. But this church was built before they started putting dicks on their roof. Alright, thank you. Would you look at that modern church there? That's Presbyterian church. That was made by us people. Look, it's got chemtrail flowing over it. Alright. But they don't really have one. It doesn't look like a obelisk up there. I mean, they got bell tower over there. And that's not the center roof, but they put that little spiky thing in the center of the roof. Alright, if you look at this one, it's definitely got it's got a steeple too. But you know, it's not coming out of the roof, it's on the side of the building. Alright, and then we got the Catholic Church over here. I'll get closer. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. They call this, nowadays they call it Secession Hill. And Secession Hill is where hundreds and hundreds of dignitaries and people from all over South Carolina came here to have a meeting to discuss about the history of what was going on at that time. Alright, they were going to have a meeting someplace else, but there was an outbreak of some illness there, so they moved it here to Abbeville. And that's where we are. So anyway, you would have speakers up there talking. I got people waving at me, thumbs up. But anyway, in their speeches and stuff, they would talk about the evil that was going on with our federal government. our federal government had laws that they didn't like, and plus we paid more taxes to the government than all the other states put together. South Carolina was paying 75% of federal taxes, and the other 12 colonies, or how many states it was left, I don't remember, but anyway, the rest of the United States was only paying 25%. And we thought that was kind of pretty evil, because they would spend the money on New York and Boston. They weren't spending it on Charleston or Columbia, nothing like that. That road's Secession Road, and that's Branch Street. Alright, now, they came here on Abbeville on the railroad. And that's the railroad depot over there. Well, that's the freight depot. The railroad depot would have been out by the street, and because the streets are different now than what they were. The railroad depot would have been in front of it, and it was later known as the Comeback Restaurant, but it burnt down to the ground. And you would have railroad tracks coming from this side of the depot up past me, a little bit out by the yellow line out in the middle of the road. Those would have been like yard tracks and stuff, runaround tracks. And then there would have been another one that came out, and on the maps I looked at, it shows it going up that road. And the old timer told me that up there behind the courthouse and stuff, they would park railroad cars, and I guess that's for the people at the top of the hill and stuff like that. Now, that's pretty steep hill, I think, for a railroad. I can't believe they push cars up that hill. But anyway, let me go over here and I'll walk around on Secession Hill and show you the monuments and stuff. Across the street, I'm walking up Secession Hill. That old brick wall, there would have been houses right along this sidewalk here. In the backyard of the house, one of the houses is a graveyard for a soldier that died on the trains coming into Abbeville. I'm going to go back and talk about the depot in a little bit. That's got a lot to do with the history here. Alright. I assume up there. Hey, pup-ups. Visitors are welcome. Owned by Secession Hill Memorial Trust. They're making this place look more important nowadays. I wish they studied the history of why we started the war. Or why the South did. I can't say I had anything to do with it, but I do agree with them. Alright, because we do have crooked government and stuff like that. Alright, you got monuments up there, that's for women folk talking about stuff. And I think over there's where they were stood at and taught. I don't know what that is. It looks like it might be a play at the Opera House or something. Y'all have to stop it, blow it up, and look at it. I'm not going to sit there and read. The harbor, the state of South Carolina. Hopefully I can get good, clear imagery of it. Y'all have to stop it and read it. I can't hardly, you probably have to blow it up and read it. I can't hardly read it, but maybe if you're on a big size computer, you can look at this. There you go. bunch of stuff down there. Alright. Is that Abbeville stuff? I don't know. Now you got to understand at the time what was going on. There was many states in the South that had gone in and got federal military bases and shut them down and told them to get the hell out of town, and they did. 50 incidents like that before the Confederacy was started, and we started the Civil War. Now, I say we are the ones who went down to Charleston trying to defend ourselves. I don't know what all this is here. It's just a bunch of names. Alright, folks. In a statewide election on December 6, 1860, specially called for by the South Carolina General Assembly, the people of South Carolina chose delegates for a convention to consider the question of secession. The right of a state to secede from the Union was understood by all of our nation's founders, and each of the states was joined together to form the United States. The South Carolina Secession Convention began. See, that's all. We didn't start the war, y'all. Y'all did. Damn Yankees. This is a confirmed case of smallpox in Columbia. That's what it was. They couldn't go to Columbia and do this. They had smallpox. They came to Abbeville, South Carolina. I don't know where that is, that picture. Probably in Charleston. Oh yeah, I had to stop and read it, y'all. I got so much sun on the back of my lens, I don't know how good I'm doing, so I hope I got that for you. Sons of Confederate Veterans. I hope you can read that. Da Vinci, Columbia, Tennessee. Jack Marlin, faithful and true South Carolina family, God, SCV, in memorandum. We built this monument together to dedicate to H. Albert Jackson, Chairman, the Emeritus Honor Monument Committee, sponsored by SCSCV. Confederate Heritage Trust Incorporated, Charleston, South Carolina. May we never forget. In memory of the Weird family of Lawrence County, their service and sacrifice. In memory of Patricia Pat Bleach, South Carolina Division of Sons of Confederate Veterans. Rivers Bridge Camp 842, they will not be forgotten. In honor of the men and women of the Parish Mounted Rangers, St. James Parish, present day Goose Creek, South Carolina. Secession Camp number 4, Sons of Confederate Veterans, Charleston, South Carolina, lest we forget. Captain Eustace St. Pierre Bellinger Company, 11th Regiment, South Carolina Infantry Militia. Stephen Lynn Douglas, spiritually devoted and preserving his family heritage and true history of the South, faithfully toiled 10 years to erect this edifice. And appreciation of Robert Hayes for securing, clearing, and maintaining Secession Hill for present and future generations. I assume that's the guy that owns the house out there. I do not know. I'm going to go read this monument. I'm not going to read any others, because this was in the center of the activity. This was where the meeting was. And you can see it overlooked the depot down there. But they said there was 300 men met up at the courthouse, and I'll get this in this video someplace. Well, the courthouse ain't there, so I can just talk about it. 300 people met at the courthouse, and then they walked down here to hold a big meeting of secession. Site of General Hampton's speech. I hope you can stop and read that. Alright, then we got that there. The first secession speeches. Nothing on the back side. I walk on up there to the top, but I assume the man stood there and people stood up on this hill. I don't know, I haven't seen any photographs of it or anything, any paintings about it. Got a bunch of rock here. Must have been a driveway or something at one time. But anyway, I have seen old photographs that would show houses all down this side of that road going down there, Secession Road. So there's people that had those houses that would live there. But I don't know if they were there during the time of secession, but I don't know who would build a house with a graveyard right out the back door. Robert Boyd Hayes. Robert Boyd Hayes, born February 14, 1940. So that's what the Civil War was about. We're trying to legally claim our independence from our government. Our government was crooked and wouldn't allow that to happen. I'm having a problem seeing what I'm looking at to know where I'm aiming at. Sorry. So I hope y'all can blow it up and read it. Or text me and tell me to come back, and I'll take more pictures of it, y'all. Alright, thank you. Alright, that's the beginning of the Civil War. This is during the Civil War. There's an unknown Confederate soldier. They done redid this and got new monuments and stuff. Placed here in 1865 from a train in the depot at the bottom of this hill. Like I said, over about in front of that church out in front of us is where the depot would have been for the passenger depot. This is a man that died on the train, smallpox, possibly from Albania, age 30 years. So many Abbeville near forgot the penalties for which he died for Southern independence. So the wounded soldier died on the train going back home and is buried here in Abbeville. I'm gonna walk down, look and talk about that depot over there. Alright, thank you. I do hope you are enjoying this. I am. And welcome to Abbeville, y'all. Hope you're having fun. God bless you. Leave me a message. I've been putting stuff out on this channel for years. I haven't got the first message. Give me a thumbs up and stuff. And thank y'all who watch. This would have been the Southern Railroad Freight Depot. This is the cargo side. The tracks would have been on that side to unload the cars with. Over here, the wagons wouldn't, modern day trucks would back up to it to get the stuff off of it. The track came from that direction. It come out along in the grass over here to the depot, and it would branched off, and you had a track going up that street, one on this side and one on that side. Where those two buildings are now, there would have been a cottonseed warehouse on the left, and over here you would have had coal and ice and some sort of chemical factory and stuff, crushing the seeds and getting stuff out of them. I don't know. This would have been modern day. That name was the Southern Railroad, but when back in the days of the Civil War, this was the Columbia Greenville. I'm walking the wrong way. I'm going up here and go past the gate and walk around it and show y'all. Hold on. There you go. That's what it looks like. Now, I used to work there as I'm getting old, y'all. It's hard to remember. There's a feed and seed store for farmers and people on horses and dogs and cats and stuff. It looks like the roof's getting a little damage up there from wind. But yeah, that place would have been full of sacks of feed. And back then, there were 100 and 200 pound sacks. And I'd pick them up and throw them on my shoulder. Boss man get mad, want me to use a hand truck, but I don't know. I had attitude. And you see how well this building is together, as old as it is? I mean, it's dated back to the Civil War, y'all. I don't remember the old piano. Of course, I never probably worked back in this corner too much, but I don't know. It's got walls built in there now. Probably the church did, but that's the wall on the other end. It's still here. That's where the tracks would have come. You had the track on the left going up. You had these 2 or 3 tracks up here to join together, and they all join together up there and head on out that corner going over to Hodges, South Carolina. Over in Hodges, there's a Y track. The depot's in the middle of it. The Y track and the main line, the Columbia Greenville main line, would join together with the Y track at our Abbeville sub, and you could drive a train in, point it northbound, back it up southbound, come down the other one, the trains turn around to come into Abbeville. So that's where they would have run these trains back then. I don't know if they ever had a turntable here. I don't know how to turn the locomotive around or what they did, but I guess he got on the other end of the train and would pull it backwards. Alright, this is the baggage car side over here. And everything's still here and looks good, you know. I mean, some of it's rotten. So those are modern 2x4s up there. That was an addition to the place. That's what the original wood looked like. It was built out of heavy wood. So pretty cool little place. Alright, so the history behind this building. Jefferson Davis commended this place for carrying more Confederate supplies to their military. All their supplies carried on the railroad started out here in Abbeville. They would bring it in by the wagon load out of Georgia. Of course, Atlanta had a railroad track that was going up towards Tennessee. Our tracks connected up to Washington and stuff, going up to Maryland and Virginia. The Charleston, Western Carolina would connect up in Greenwood with the tracks that come into the present day Norfolk Southern tracks, Southern Railroad. I don't know what it would have been in the olden days, but then that would send it north on up. And I don't know if that track had made it to Atlanta yet or not, but it could have been carrying supplies too. Alright, so that's the history of this place. The most important freight depot of the Confederacy. So that was in the middle of the war, and Jefferson Davis talking about it. Alright, my next stop is going to be the Burt Stark Mansion. Now the Burt Stark Mansion, Abbeville's up at the top of the hill, y'all. I'll walk up that way. But anyway, the Burt Stark Mansion is where the last cabinet meeting of the Confederacy was held. Jefferson Davis and his cabinet leaders disbanded the Confederacy because Robert E. Lee had surrendered. So that stopped the Civil War. So this is the beginning and the ending of the Civil War. Both took place in Abbeville. Alright, thank you. I hope you enjoy reading this beautiful sign. I like the colors and the writing. Alright, thank you. And this is the store that has it. Pink on Pickens Boutique. Alright, thank you. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Burt Stark Mansion. This is where, when at the end of the war, Jefferson Davis left Virginia and came down here to Abbeville, and they had the last cabinet meeting of the Confederacy at this place. And they ended the Civil War here. Later on, they will all get in a wagon train and head down to Georgia. I don't know whether they head to Texas like he was planning on, or whether he was going down to Florida to sail over to Texas. I don't remember. But anyway, they say the Civil War was to free the slaves. We didn't start the Civil War because we were worried about the slaves. We were worried about all the money being stolen by the federal government. Like I said, 75% of the taxes were paid by South Carolina, 25% were paid by the rest of the states in the United States. So not even New York was paying the same amount of taxes we were. Boston wasn't either, but most of the tax money was being spent on New York and Boston. It wasn't coming back to South Carolina to help us out. So we were being robbed by the government. Alright, now, Another thing, they claim to have freed all the slaves in the United States. Well, they freed them in the South first of all. They didn't free them up north. So the Civil War wasn't about freeing slaves. Understand that. After the Civil War, we all became citizens. White people and black people. Alright? Because we had a corrupt government. A citizen identifies you as a government-owned slave. And today we're all called citizens. So that means there's still slavery going on in the United States. You hear me? Wake up, you Yankees. This is what you fought for and won. For everybody in the United States to be turned into a government-owned slave. Alright. Thank you. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. So the federal government did not free the slaves. They stole them. They took them from their owners and made them government slaves. They called them citizens. The definition for citizen has always been a government-owned slave. The Romans had citizens. Britain had citizens. France had citizens. They call their people citizens, which means a government-owned slave. America wasn't made better by the Civil War. America wasn't good when it won the Civil War, because it just kept doing evil. And that's what you citizens up north fought for, because you ain't smart. Y'all stood up and defended that thinking because you're dumb and you didn't know the definition of citizen back then. Alright. Walking through Abbeville, North Main Street heading south. There's the sun coming up in the west. This is early morning, y'all. Alright, wake up, seek the truth, stand up for freedom. As God says, if He makes you a free man, you're supposed to defend your freedom. And that's what we were trying to do down here, but we didn't do too good. We lost. And now the whole United States is one big slave country. Just like Rome, just like Britain, just like Canada. No freedom anywhere. It used to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. Now it's the land of the ignorant and home of the slave. Welcome to America. All right, thank you.